I figured we had to put the little fairy screen in there.
Morning.
Good humid morning. My goodness.
Yeah, well, let's see what people want to know about fairies today.
Right. Well, we already have Amy. Amy's already joining us. Good morning, everyone. So excited for today's chat with Marianne and Melissa about all things Fae. And Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca. Because, the summertime is when everybody starts getting into the whole fairy gardens and the fairy things. And, this, I don't know if it's a misunderstanding, maybe an assumption, thanks to Disney, because Disney's everywhere, that fairies are all cute and cuddly and helpful and everybody wants one. Or do they?
And there are some that, they are like everything else. There's good and bad in everything. And there are good fairies and sprites, and there really are. But there's the same hand. It's like the good ghosts and the bad ghosts. The bad little fairies are going to cause problems in the house with your kids and your animals, and they're very mischievous. They really are.
Oh, this is the good thing about school being out. The screen just jumped on me. Lewis is in early.
Yes, he is.
But we do have Amy as well. Hello, Amy. Thank you. That was a last minute, we need a new little screen for tomorrow. Stephanie.
Fairy, right.
Yes. Sarah, Sharon. Hello, Heather. Hey, Lisa. We just got to visit with Lisa yesterday. Melanie. So if anybody has any questions on the fairies, Marianne's going to answer you guys live on that. Marianne, what is the biggest thing that people shouldn't do when it comes to trying to work with the fairies?
The only thing that I can see is that's been a problem for the last few years is everybody making the little fairy houses to put in their yard. You are trying to attract or be nice to fairies, to sprites, to the pixies. And that's all fine and well. And as if you leave them outside, you're good. But come fall, don't bring those little houses and everything in the house, because if you've got them in the house, they will cause problems for you in the house. So I know that I brought a tree sprite in once because we bought a bald Christmas tree, about 3 feet tall, dug a hole in the fall because we knew we were going to we weren't going to be able to dig a hole in December, and left the tree outside until a week before Christmas, brought it in and decorated. And there was a little tree sprite in there that caused, you cannot believe the problems that little sprite caused. It would take lights off. It would take the bows off the tree. It was her tree, and you better put it back outside where it belonged. So you got to be, it's like I said, with animals, with kids, they cause a lot of problems.
So if you do have these little fairy houses, and like Lisa, she typed what I was thinking. Do you stick them in the garage? If you don't bring them in the house, but then that could cause problems with automotive and other things. So what do you do with your little fairy houses?
Seriously, put a big black garbage bag over them and leave them outside for the winter.
Okay.
I mean, why do you have to bring them in if they're covered over in burlap or a clothes basket over the top of them? I mean, just something to protect them. But I think you're better off seriously leaving them outside.
Because I know some of them, depending on if they're handmade or if they're mass produced, and they're not weather ready to leave out year round. So that's why people will bring them in. So
I understand that, but I don't know what the alternative is. I don't know what you should do. You can't trap them. I mean, it's like pick the house up and put it in a black garbage bag and twist it. So now do you have the little thing trapped inside the garbage bag? I don't think so. So, and if you just put their house in a black garbage bag, they're probably not going to be happy about that either. So You know, it's like, be careful what you wish for. Do you really want them in your yard?
Right. That could be problematic. All right. Well, hello, Fire Over Water. Lewis has suggestions for ghost walks when we get to England. We'll go over those here in a minute. Adam, Helen, our friend Sandy, Linda. Let's see, and Mary and Natalie and Rob. This feels like Romper Room. Oh, we have a friend from Sri Lanka and Lourdes from California. Hello, everybody. Oh, let's see. The time for us right now is a little after 10 here in the US. So, kind of, I won't say early morning, late morning, getting into early afternoon. So Adam says, oh, let's see, we jumped again. I saw a greenish colored fairy or sprite years ago. It was flying alongside of a train I was watching go by. I knew it wasn't a dragonfly because of the way I felt. Made me want to follow it. Are they mischievous that way to make you want to follow them? Should you step in the mushroom ring?
Yeah, I think everybody is curious when you see one. It's like, oh my God, where'd it go? Let's go look. And I think that's what they entice you to do that. And they do have a very strange energy about them. And sometimes it's very soothing to people, and sometimes it is not. It just depends. I don't think the feeling is soothing to children. I think it irritates children. I think it's more soothing for adults than it is for children.
Okay, so good question from Sarah. Says, so if fairies are bad for the house, what kind of things are they good for?
They're outside. They're sprites. They're fairies. They take care of the earth, the trees. You know, there's sprites for wind, fire, earth, air. Everyone has their job. And like I said, I believe they belong outside. I know when they come inside is when they cause problems for people. They really don't belong inside of a house.
Mm. So maybe trying to work with them to keep your garden up, to keep your land as it should.
Exactly. Right. That's where they should be. Now, they can help you sometimes too. They try to be helpful. Not all of them, but some of them do try to be helpful. And it's like, okay, you're having trouble selling your house. You've got St. Joseph buried, and that's still not doing it, even though you're remembering to say the prayer for 9 days in a row. And so what you do is you ask the fairies to help you sell your house. They like the smell of rose. So you get some rose oil and a cotton ball and any door that prospective buyers are going to be walking through. You put a dab of oil on the side of the door jambs about head high. So when somebody's walking through, they smell the oil. In the meantime, you take a little bowl and you put some milk or cream in it, a little cinnamon, maybe a little nutmeg, and mix it up and stick it outside in the flower bed right by the front door. You're thanking them and you're giving them a little treat for helping make people feel good when they walk into the house and want it. I think it's almost the same thing. They say bake cookies, bake bread, bake something that smells good. So when people walk in, they go, "Oh yeah, I love the smell in this house." Well, anybody can cook a loaf of bread or bake a loaf of bread. So, but I think it's a way of thanking. But they do help sell a house if that's one thing you want to try.
My house was completely different.
Where'd you go, Melissa? You disappeared there for a minute.
Darn fairies. Lisa says, what about gnomes and leprechauns?
Leprechauns are probably almost the worst for mischievous doings. They are mean to animals. They are mean to kids. Leprechauns can be tiny little things about 2 inches tall, but they can be up to 2 feet tall too. And they are usually dressed in green. And they apparently had real jobs at some time when apparently they really were cobblers, fixing shoes and that kind of thing. But they are very miserly. So anything that is anything they think that's extravagant in your house, they will break. Or like you have a whole wall TV, like a big 56. Yeah. You're not going to have, if you got leprechauns in the house, you're going to have all kinds of problems with that. If it's an earthbound spirit standing by it, it's going to go, you're going to blame it on the cable. But a leprechaun will break it. They will gnaw on the cord. They will break the cord. They will mess with the dials. They will take knobs off and hide them. They're little buggers. They really are.
They're not the cute little things that are portrayed around, March. Oh, so Sandy says, are fairies frightened off by cats, squirrels, chipmunks, or anything else?
No, I think they stand their ground. Like I said, I'm referring to the tiny little ones, the sprites, the fairies, the pixies, the tiny little bitty ones. I think they're aware of them, but I think they're another one that can hop in and out of other dimensions. So if an animal tries to attack them, they're just going to pop themselves right into another dimension. They're not going to, they're not going to be a problem at all.
Let's see. So there was a question and everything jumped. Oh, from Melanie. Here it is. So it says, we shouldn't set up fairy gardens then in the yard.
If it's something you really want to do, try to do one that, there are places in the country that you can leave them out 12 months out of the year. If you don't live someplace where it's snowing, you probably be fine to have one outside. But if you've got to move it in the winter, I would think twice about it.
Maybe if you had like a garden shed where it's non-breakable, expensive electronics, no fancy computerized cars, no, right. Maybe if you couldn't leave them out, put them in the shed.
Yeah, that would be an option. But you don't even want to put them like down in the basement. You will add, oh, no. You really don't want to put them in the house anywhere where they can do damage. So...
now, would there be a difference to set up a fairy garden just because you think it's cute versus setting up one to actively attract fairies? Are both intentions kind of going to get you in trouble with the fairies?
I think anytime they see something that's scaled down to their size,
fair game.
Pretty much, yeah. I think so.
What if you put hens and chicks around the house? Well, that kind of...
Well, hens and chicks are good for some things, but I don't believe they're good for fairies, though. If anything, right now, I really don't know anything that repels them. I truly do not. I wish I did, but I do not.
Huh. Oh, so Sink is wondering if you see fairies like you see Earthbounds.
I have seen them. I was in a house, and on her over the dining room table, the light that was over the dining room table was fancy, and it had a bunch of arms on it with light bulbs all over, and there was about 6 or 7 of them, about this, just the little bitty things, about this big, sitting on the little things. Their wings were going a mile a minute, and I remember thinking to myself, now, Marianne, you've truly lost your mind. I remember thinking that when I saw him for the first time. It's like, Oh no, I can't even go here. I don't even, I just keep my head down and I don't even want to talk about it. So I have seen them. I saw the nasty one that wanted the Christmas tree outside. I did see, and I keep calling them hers. They just look very feminine to me. I don't think, now the leprechauns I think are male, the trolls are male, the gnomes are male. Um, I think it's very discreet. I I've never seen a. I don't think trolls. It's like in the movies, werewolves and vampires are always men. I mean, very seldom do you see a woman portrayed like that. And I just think that there's some, I think that there's a division there.
Well, Poodle Pants is joining us and has a question on if fairies can just hang out in pretty gardens.
They can, and they're fine out there, and your flowers love it, and yeah, and it's like, what can I give the fairies to keep the Japanese beetles off of my roses? I wish I knew. Maybe give them a little bit of milk. Maybe they'll stay away from maybe they'll kill the Japanese beetles for you. Try it. I don't know.
Julie, one of our local friends here, says, how do I know if fairies are there? I have permaculture gardens filled for pollinators and wildlife. It seems to be blessed.
Oh, I'm sure that they love that. Anything nature sprites, of course, anything like that they're going to love. You're probably full of that stuff. And the guy that said something before about a dragonfly. Seriously, the next time, if you're somewhere where there are dragonflies in your area, take a close look at a dragonfly. You'd be surprised sometimes that it really is some kind of a sprite. You could actually see a face instead of bug eyes.
It's interesting. Yesterday when I was leaving town, I live out in the middle of country currently. And at the main intersection, I say that loosely, Mary, and that intersection with the big greenhouse. It's
right.
There was a motorcycle in front of me, and he was stopped, and he was waiting to go straight. I was going to turn left, and when I got behind him for part of that drive, he had a little dragonfly like following behind him, and as he sat there, it just kept kind of circling around him, and I'm like, I wonder if he knows that he's got a little friend, little guardian, kind of
somebody. That's exactly right. You got it.
Hilarious, this big, bulky, tatted up, badass looking guy. And I'm like, and you have an adorable little dragonfly.
Right. And he'd be the first one to say, oh, that's a bunch of crap. So
let's see. Deshawn, I've been seeing your questions. Today we're doing fairies first, and then we'll get into Earthbounds. Because there are how many videos that we've put up on Earthbounds and what kind of problems they can cause. But if we have time at the end of today, we'll kind of address some of them. Lewis wants to know, what do they wear? Are they all sparkly? Because if you're a fan of the Dresden Files, like they are very much like couture and very sparkly, elaborate. Or are they running around in petals and vines?
I think their clothes, their coverings look more natural than organza and rhinestones. I don't really see that. They do, if the sun catches them just right, I'm sure they glitter a little bit, with their wings going the way they go. But it's humans that dress them up in clothes.
Let's see. Oh, this is interesting. Sink says, I saw something about 2 feet tall in my garden. It looked quite feminine. Could it be a fairy or something else?
Absolutely. And they're solid. They're not see-through. And it's one of those things, if they know that, or they think somebody's getting close to seeing them, they will disappear. So you just might have caught this one just right. But absolutely. And as long as it's outside, you don't have a problem.
And a good question. Will pesticides harm fairies?
I know they don't like pesticides because, believe it or not, they even like weeds. If it's nature, they like it. So even though you don't like the weeds, they do like the weeds. So yeah, they I don't believe it hurts them, but I think it makes them very sad when it starts killing stuff that it shouldn't be killing in their world.
Let's see. Oh, and then follow-up question. If those gazing balls, do those help attract them?
I think it makes people think that it does. I don't believe it does. No.
And can they help heal sick plants?
Yes, they can. Yeah. A lot of times, if you've got indoor plants that aren't doing well, if you put them outside on the patio table or the back step or something like that, a lot of times the sprites will and flower, plant, they will take care of them. They will help. Absolutely.
Which is, how I've always wondered how you get a beautiful plant from one of those outdoor greenhouses and it's thriving and you get it home and within days it's like, blah.
Exactly.
You know.
That's controlled air, humidity. You can't do that in your house. You have a dehumidifier in the house to get rid of the humidity. They put humidity in the air to make their plants happy.
Well, and I know there's a local wonderful family herb garden, Mulberry Creek Herb Farm, and they've got their fairy gardens. And I just know that they work maybe without even intending to, but like there's like a nice camaraderie that's happening for all of those plants.
They're loving that. If they, somebody's helping them make good plants. I mean, I'm sure that's the way they're thinking. We would like them to come and help us, but we're really helping them because they're the ones that want to keep everything healthy and, grow.
Susan says we have 3 to 4 dragonflies that fly around our pool. They love the water and have landed on us. They are beautiful, sparkling creatures. Never thought that they could possibly be fairies.
Like I said, check out their just the round part in the front where their little faces are, and you'd be surprised if you can't see a little tiny head on it.
Oh, good question, Lewis. Is there any truth to the myth that iron or metal repels fairies?
No, none that I've ever known to do it. No.
Let's see. So Melanie says, I once saw a purple, pink, transparent, fairy-like being. Was this a different kind of fairy? Also, can fairies cause hoarding issues for us in the house or basement?
No, not hoarding. I would not think so. I think you can see them any color that you want. If they're translucent, depending on how the light hits them, or iridescent, look at water in a lake. It looks like different colors depending on how the sun is shining on it. This would be the same reflection, reaction that you would see catching them, out in the sun or out in nature.
So our friend Dushan from Sri Lanka had to switch over, wants to know what countries have a lot of fairies. And he also asked if there's fairies all over the world.
I believe they're all over the world. And I think America is what thinks they're crazy. I think that especially in Europe, all of these creatures, all of this weird stuff, this is a way of life there. And this is a lot. Ireland, that's where, I'm going to say probably 50% of these little creatures have originated. But the other Baltic states, they've all got something. The ones in the mountains, those are the ogres and the trolls. And like I said, if you have them in the house by using that recipe, you can get rid of them so they don't come back in the house. But there's no way to put the solution on to stop them from coming in until you've had them in the house. It's a catch-22. It really is.
Oh, so Sandy, so she'll have to check out the dragonflies by her pond. She's got a little fish in that pond. Let's see. Oh, Lewis says, what about elementals or sprites like mermaids or leprechauns?
Leprechauns do exist. Sprites do exist. Absolutely. I'm going to say there probably at some point were mermaids or mermen. I would think there are too many stories from sailors and people that work on the oceans that they can't all be crazy. They've, and maybe some of them were dolphins that helped, bring people up, because dolphins are known to do that too. But not when they're so sure that it was a man or a woman type fish that brought them up.
Right. And I'm sure they can pop in and out of dimension like the land fairies. So that's why they can be elusive. Nobody can see one. I think it was the Discovery Channel years ago who did like this mockumentary where they found like a mermaid and they had trapped it, and like people thought it was real. Like they put this on like one of their regular documentaries, and it caused an uproar for a while, to where then they were having to put out press releases like this wasn't real. This was, I'm sure you can find it if you dig around online, if anybody wants to go watch it. I think it was Discovery. So there's been a few people asking, can you speak to the fairies like you do the Earthbounds?
I cannot. However, they are like earthbound spirits or ghosts or angels or anything else. They definitely can hear us talk. They can hear what we say. But so I guess you're talking to them in one way, even though you're not having a conversation with them.
So it's kind of more of like a telepathic, because there was also a question from our friend in Sri Lanka then who asked like, what's their language? And I'm sure it might even vary depending on what type of fairy they are.
That's exactly right. And I think that dialects and everything is like everything else, with depending on what part of the world you live in, that's going to be the language of where you're living.
So I'm sure though, like if you're out working in your garden and you're talking to them, they're going to understand the intention and the energy. So you could talk to them.
Correct.
And you would have to learn to interpret what's coming back to you. Because like there was a question, and again, everything bounced up. I can't find it. But one of our friends joining us, she was out gardening and pulling weeds, and she kind of saw an outline out of the corner of the eye and just got the impression that they were not happy with her, because she's pulling weeds.
And you don't like the weeds, but they do. So, and I'm going to guess that there's even trouble. Nobody gets along with everybody. I'm sure that the ones that like the weeds probably aren't the fairies or the sprites that like the flowers, because the weeds would choke out the flowers. So I'm sure there's conflict in their little world too with each other.
Oh, thanks, Lewis. So Lewis says that documentary was, he says, yes, I believe it was called Mermaids, The Body Found. It was very realistic, and they put a lot of it. Like they put the production on like it was one of their regular things. And that's why so many people are like, we knew it was real. And then they're like, oh, sorry. This was all fiction. They haven't done anything. I take that back. I think there was a dragon one too that came around that same time. Lewis, find the dragon one. So Judy is asking, how big can they be? I always thought they were 5 to 6 inches tall.
They can be as little as half an inch. Some trolls can go 6 feet. Ogres can be 5-6 feet. So yeah, they can be there. They vary in size from little bitty to pretty good size.
Mm-hmm. Think of Lord of the Rings. I'm sure he was channeling something when he wrote some of those beings. There was also a question about having little garden gnomes out in the yard, little statues. Do gnomes help with the land as well, or?
Gnomes are more of protectors, I think, than workers. I think that they,
From Ohio Cat.
yeah, okay. I said, do they actually help my garden? I, I think that I don't think that they are a threat to anybody. I know, I think they just, of course, there was that one, no gnomes always have those pointed hats, and I know somebody took a gnome and killed somebody with the point of the gnome's hat. I know that, but the gnome didn't do what a human did. So
See, I like the grumpy little gnomes. They're my people. I have gnomes in my yard, and I have a big, it's probably about 4 foot tall concrete gnome.
oh wow, okay.
And which I'm gonna have to find homes for these while I move to the apartment for a little bit. I hope they'll be happy, maybe visiting mom for a year, especially my concrete one. Somebody stole him a few years ago. He used to be at the end of my driveway, and I came home and he was missing. And I'm like, well, where did you go? And I knew he was close. I could feel him. So I'm walking town. I'm like, I'll just go steal my gnome right back out of the yard. It's mine. But I couldn't find him. So I told him, this is bad. I'm like, you will flatten tires. You will pull electric out. You will cause havoc until they bring you back. And the next summer, when I came outside to put my dog out, he was plopped back in my front yard. I'm like, you are such a good little gnome. He doesn't cause problems, but I'm like,
yeah, you go with that. That sounds good.
I'm like, I know you're near me. They just got you in a garage or something that I can't get to you. I'm like,
can't see me, right?
So don't steal my gnomes.
Please don't.
I like my grumpy little guys. They're my buddies. Oh, Sandy, she'll let my gnomes live there. Yay.
Oh, there you go.
Let's see. She also asked, do fairies ride hummingbirds or other birds? Do they all have wings and use them? Because, sometimes little books will show them riding cats and dogs and birds.
They can ride animals. Absolutely. Like I said, the leprechauns are probably the worst with if you're a breeder of greyhounds, sight dogs, anything that's big like that, they love to ride those big dogs like that, and they race them around like crazy. There are people that have kennels with those type of dogs that they don't understand how the dogs get out of their runs every night in the middle of the night. How do they get out? Well, the leprechauns let them out. So
let's see. Oh, Rebecca says, will you ever host a fairy or troll walk? New idea event in a Cleveland Metro Park.
Oh man, I think we have a better chance of finding a ghost than we do a fairy, except in the fall. In the fall, when they do their fairy rings, because in the fall, after rain and a good cool night, you're going to get mushrooms, and they like mushrooms, and a lot of fairy rings are made out of mushrooms. But fairy rings can be very dangerous. They say if you go into a fairy ring, you have a miserable life after. You really aren't supposed to go into a fairy ring. That is for fairies only. So you can spot them, but you're not supposed to go into them. There's a couple things. If you walk into them backwards, in other words, don't walk over the mushroom, stand in front of the mushroom and go over the mushroom backwards, wear a hat backwards. It's supposed to let you come back out with no problems. But if you go in forward, or you don't have a hat on, or you have a hat on and it's the way it's supposed to be on, you're going to come out with problems.
What if you just mow your lawn and mow it down?
It's good. But see, mushrooms will come back up.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said the only walks that I would think that, and and sometimes people said they've seen fairies dancing around in a fairy ring. I I've seen 3 natural fairy rings that were made, by nature, not by humans. And I thought maybe I saw something in one of them, but I did not see anything in the other 2. But people make fairy rings. They think that they're calling fairies in if they make a fairy ring. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
Stories about stepping in the ring and you're gone and you're lost in Fae, and
Right.
the stories too, the lore that like they're very tricky, and if they offer you drink or food, now you're trapped there, and the riddles and stuff.
Fairy rings are a maze of all kinds of information.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know how much of any of that is true or not. I really don't have the time or the desire to go find out. Like the only ones that I really like I said, are the gnomes, because they're just grumpy little old people, and I find them adorable. I was also a home health aide for old people, because I think old people are just 90% of them are adorable. Some of them, their spite keeps them living forever. Um, let's see. There was which normally I sit back and I'm like, you go. But I had one little old lady like throw a hammer, and I'm like, and we're done. You're not cute. We're done. Because I used the correct nails to hang her screen door. That's a whole other story. There was a question, back on track. Can Bigfoot and ogres be the same thing? I saw the question. I can't find it to show it, but.
No, ogres have a different look to them. Ogres are mossy looking. That's the best way to describe them. Moss. From what I understand, Bigfoot is fur.
Hairy or fur?
Hairy, yeah. So no, I don't think they're the same. I no.
Is Bigfoot real?
I've never seen him, but you know what? That doesn't mean he's not real. I think enough people have had some kind of sightings
to put some validation to it.
I would say because of aliens, I've seen those more than I have. I've never seen a Bigfoot. An alien I've seen. So yeah, and it's almost like I got to see it to believe it.
Which our friend in Sri Lanka, he was asking if we have other videos that we could put up about other creatures, like what else, which you just put up the video last week. So anybody who's interested in some aliens can go back and watch last Wednesday's 5:30 video.
Oh yeah.
We put up a bunch of stuff about aliens there. Let's see. I don't know, what else could you do a talk on, or an hour video?
I don't think, I mean, I think this is about it for, the fairy realm. I think the general questions and the ghost questions are what, people have most of.
Well, Brooke says Florida has a monster called the skunk ape. Have you heard of it? Do you think it might be ogres? And there's something similar in Arkansas, in Falk, Arkansas.
There's something similar in New Jersey too.
So is that more Bigfoot versus ogre, or is that ogre?
And I'm going to say it probably could be ogres or trolls or both.
Because I know, like they say, Bigfoot has a really definitive smell. Like they do not smell good. And, so these beings, the skunk apes and the skunk, anything named skunk, like they kind of lump it in with Bigfoot because of the smell. But I'm assuming, could ogres and trolls, like I'm sure they don't smell pleasant to us either.
No. And it's like, and I'm sure I am not the only one on a summer day like this. And when it rains, how many of you can smell worms outside when you walk outside? I can smell worms. So, and they don't smell pleasant to me. So maybe because living in the woods or in nature, and I wouldn't doubt that they have a very particular odor to them.
Mm. Well, Adam says the only place I've seen a real gnome is in Taylorsville Metro Park, just north of Dayton. There was one watching me from a tree when I was near old ghost town of Tadmore.
Oh, I believe it. I think they watch us all the time. I think they always watch us and look at us. But no, and I'm sure you saw exactly what you thought you saw, Adam.
There's like a tree in, I think it's actually Fairview. I was sitting there waiting for an order and I looked up. I'm a big fan of Green Man, which I don't think he's really fair. He's more like a diva or the whole mass protector of like woods and forest. And just looked up at the tree, wasn't really looking for him, just kind of listening to an audiobook and staring off into space, and saw the face, up on the bark, and thought that was a really, really neat thing. Um,
How many people have paneling in their house? Or well, not like we used to back in the day. But you could walk into a room and just sit there and, oh, I suppose it didn't hurt if you were drinking a beer. But you look at the wall and you can see from the cut of the wood, it looks like a face is in the paneling.
mhm.
And it's like, so where did that come from? You just sometimes you just really wonder.
Well, oh, and Rhonda, yes, love Green Man in nature. I had the fascination with Green Man ever since we lived
Oh,
in.
there she is. That's the one that sent us the stuff. Okay.
We stayed at a hotel, the Zuckerbaker in Landstuhl, waiting for military housing to come available. And it's at the bottom of a hill, and up the hill is the castle. And somebody had cut trees stumps into different heights and carved all these Green Man faces into them. And it was like this up against this hill, this wooded hill, and you had these Green Man faces. And I would just sit on the balcony and just look at these things for hours. And ever since, I'm like, I love Green Man. It's probably the best thing that came out of Germany, because I hated living there as a kid.
I'll tell you, there's a book that I go to. It's like my woo-woo Bible. Okay. Because again, I know what I'm good at and I know what I have knowledge of, but I know that it's called the Encyclopedia Psychic Dictionary. This is a huge book. Okay. I was looking at this last night before getting ready for this today. There are over 140 different names for fairies and sprites and leprechauns and ogres. 140 that I found.
Mm-hmm.
And they show these from different parts of the world, what they're called. So they're everywhere. I mean, everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes, well, just like, we humans, some person calls a car, you go somewhere else, it's a vehicle.
Automobile.
Right.
Right. Yeah, there's a bunch of different names for a bunch of different things. Right.
Yeah. So Patrick wants to know, do you believe in Mothman? Is Mothman real?
I don't think so. I think that's something that they came up with that's new. And a lot of these people that think they're seeing things now were huge fans of the X-Files. And there was always weird things on the X-Files. And so I think, you sort of borrow and pull from other things that you've heard or seen and thought, oh, I bet that really exists. Nah, I don't think so.
Oh, what was the name of your book again?
The Encyclopedia Psychic Dictionary.
There we go, everybody.
I don't know if you carry this or not, Melissa.
I'll have to see if I can get it, order it. Here we go. So Deborah says, I agree with Marianne with cuts of wood, seeing eyes or faces. I have new sections of fence and eyes, small faces, and birds are clearly visible. Clouds are a huge fascination to me. Sometimes I can see stories in the sky. Now, for the disbelievers, there is, and I don't remember what the term is, but there is a term where they say the human brain is always trying to identify and make sense of everything. So it will find faces or shapes and things that look chaotic. So that's why you can look at a carpet and find faces, words, because it's the human brain trying to make sense of the chaotic world around us. But they have a term for that.
I do the same thing though when we're driving. I'll look up and look at a cloud and that looks like a turtle, or that looks like a little teddy bear. You do something when you're driving, and
right.
the passenger not driving. Oh yeah.
Let's see. So apparently a few people have watched your alien thing and they're wanting more stories, more info on your alien foster children or aliens in general. So I don't know if you have enough material to put out another one at some point.
Today's is a college campus, and the house on the campus has a portal in it. So it's college campus portal.
Mm. We'll be giving you a call when we get room moved into OSU and Mansfield.
Exactly right.
Like, what do we need to do here? And all of his little roommates will benefit too.
They may not know. Right.
Let's see. So Rebecca says, our daughter, Jessica, says there's a little man who wears a red hat and lives in our next door neighbor's woods. Should I worry?
No, because I'm sure the woods are his home. I've never seen any of these, besides scaring the kids, they've never hurt the kids. They just like to scare them. So, no, that's probably his home, and I don't think there's anything to worry about at all. I'm sure it's fine. If you saw him in your house, I'd go, yeah, there's a problem, but not out in the woods. You're okay.
Fun question. You have any law enforcement cases that turned out to be fairies? And
I have.
That's a yes, but you can't talk about it, right?
Yeah, and that's probably why law enforcement agencies use me so much, because I don't talk about it. I don't call the press up and go, you should hear what's happened at that house where the murder was. No, I don't do that. So I am very careful, and it's hard to try to tell an accurate story when you're changing names of everybody. It's hard.
Let's see. So maybe last question real quick about cryptozoology and fairies, because we've kind of gotten into cryptozoology with Bigfoot and everything else.
Right.
And then we'll answer a couple questions for our friend in Sri Lanka. Andrew says, what do you think about the bipedal 3-foot walking creatures that appear at night? They're white in color, mostly located in California, sometimes called Fresno nightcrawler. Some of the videos that I've seen of them, they look more alien than they do cryptoid.
I have no knowledge of this title, Fresno. I don't have any idea about this, Andrew. I'm sorry.
Let's see.
Consider where California could be anything.
That's just a whole strange area. I'm gonna have to get out there one of these days, maybe.
I don't think they're ready for you, Melissa.
I'm pretty low key. I might walk around and go, what the fuck is this? Why?
Yeah, right. What is wrong with this place?
So because we are about 10 minutes out, because we want to tie it into Zooms, our friend from Sri Lanka was asking why, if you're living in a haunted house, might you always have headaches and reoccurring pain?
Because an earthbound spirit needs human energy to keep going. And if they keep draining your energy and you don't sleep good, you're going to end up with headaches and sinus problems and lower intestinal problems. And that is why you never feel good. That is why if you only get headaches at home and outside of the house you don't get a headache, I would question that.
And apparently in their country, he had mentioned that they were not notified that the land that they were sold to build their house had like issues or trauma or could be haunted. Whereas at least what in Ohio, if there's traumatic, the realtor has to tell you.
Exactly.
I love seeing those signs, on Facebook sometimes where a realtor will put up like, here's a new listing. And, underneath the company that's selling it, there's that little extra thing that says not haunted. Like, how can you?
I haven't seen that. Oh my gosh. I haven't seen it.
I'm like, did you call Marianne? Did you get that verified? I think you're full of shit.
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of work for a lot of real estate companies. And seriously, and like I said, there are some people that when they go to look at a house now, they run their hands over the top of the door to see if there's a seed or not. If there's a seed, they know the house is good.
Lewis says, hearing all of you Americans, we love you, Lewis, talking about these creatures are so cool. In England, he never hears of anything like these. And I figured you would because of Ireland and Scotland and the She and the Fae. And
you're just not paying attention, Lois. I'm sure they're out there. I'm positive they're out there.
Now he did have quite a few suggestions up in the beginning about Whitechapel, where Jack the Ripper murders happened. So when we come do our ghost walk, he's already got a list of places we need to go. He's going to be our tour guide. I'm gonna nominate Lewis as our tour guide of around England.
Okay. I'm game.
I found my passport. We are going.
Oh, you did find? Where'd you find it?
It was for whatever reason in paperwork for Rune for all of his schoolwork and stuff. It was tucked inside one of those envelopes. Why? How did it get from the upstairs safe into paperwork down here in a file cabinet? But I found it. It's put back where it's supposed to be. It better still be there. I should probably go check later.
Sure.
So we can go to England. So if anybody who thinks that you may have ghosts, you can join us on one of our Zoom sessions. Because with Zoom, with your camera turned on, even if you're sitting in front of a white wall like I am, because all my artwork's down for getting ready to move, Marianne can see into your house and tell you what's going on and where. So if you think you have ghosts, or if you have a portal, or if you have negative energy, you can join us on Zoom. It's $20. Everybody gets to ask their questions. It is limited to make sure everybody gets to ask their questions. So we go until everybody gets to ask. If you dip out before we get to you, that's just kind of on you, but we do hang in there till everybody gets to ask their questions. So this is the link to be able to sign up and join us. It will pull up all the dates available. We add them as they fill. Right now, we still have 10 spaces open for Monday, July 19th.
And there's a full moon the day before. So just like the one that's on this Friday that's full is on a new moon. So you get some pretty good information when it's close to the full moon and the new moon. So it should be pretty good, which is a reminder, this is Law of Abundance is this Friday at 9:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Anytime after midnight on the 9th, but before 9:17 p.m. is when you write out that check.
Awesome. Yeah, because Lewis even put up about the new moon coming up and the Law of Abundance. And so don't forget, Lewis, to put your little stick figure guy and your intention out there. Let's see. Oh, and he did answer about It says, in England, we are stereotypically keep our heads down about these situations. Literally, no one here gives a shit about the supernatural. Except for you. You do, because you're with us.
I think you'd be surprised how many letters I get from England, Lewis. It's just a big secret. But they're out there, believe me.
Oh, thank you. Now I just got to find that favorite picture of my son. Like, I would expect it, the picture of my son that's been missing, that literally disappeared off the front of the refrigerator, to have been in that envelope with stuff about him. But that picture is still missing. Which kind of pisses me off because it's probably the cutest.
Of course, the one you like the best is
probably that laughing.
Yeah, of course.
No, that hopefully will show up in all of this sorting and moving around. We do not have any more events yet planned, but we're very close to another one. I actually have to bug them again today for final follow-up. So there should be one. It would be in Lorraine. Also need to follow up and see about the one possible in Erie, PA. The Brew Erie. We're working with Brew Erie to put something together. So Gary asks if new moon is as bad as full moon when it comes to energy for spirits.
The full moon starts a week before the full moon peaks, and each day they get more energy and they get more active. The day of a new moon is when they are the most active. By the next day, it's over. So it only lasts for a couple of days on a new moon, but it'll go for a whole week on a full moon. They definitely get more energy from the full than they do the new.
So again, when are we going to Savannah? Let's see. So yeah, we have July 19th. There's 10 spots left for that Zoom. We will be talking after our live right here to put together some dates for August for some Zooms.
We decided that we are going to limit the size of the classes on Zoom so that we're not keeping people from 7:30 in the evening till 11 o'clock at night. That's a lot of time to stay. And so we're going to limit it down to 20, 22 people. We'll do it 3 times a month, though, so you still get a chance to come on. But that way, a little bit more time with each one, and we're not sitting here for 4 hours straight, not moving. And that gets old. So,
hey, Holly. Holly's another local friend of ours. Kind of coming in. Good to see you. So Stephanie says, after smudging my mom's house correctly, she saw a flat metal triangle with sparkling lights around it floating around her bed at 4 a.m. She has seen this before and feels it's friendly. What might this be? Inquiring minds would like to know.
Wow. Oops. I don't know. A call or Zoom would probably be a good thing from there.
To find out definitively what that could be.
And I saw Linda's name show up here in the beginning. I just give you a message. The house is active. I got your call and the house is active. Just so you know.
Let's see. And I did put up quickly, Patrick says some people actually want to buy haunted houses.
I know. I don't know why, but yes, I understand
that. Let's see. And I'm sure we'll have a late Zoom in August or late August for a Zoom for you, Patrick.
Yeah, we'll make sure there's one
here. Yeah.
Maybe if we want you to be on it in August, we should probably do it in August close to a full moon so that they would have more energy. And that would be August. Would be the 22nd or the 23rd. Either of those 2 days.
23rd would be. So maybe
23rd's a Monday, yeah.
Because the 21st, I go schlepp the boy to Mansfield. It's a Saturday. I lock him in and tell him, ha, you can't come home till break.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if we did the full moon, if we do it around the full moon, that way, if you've got anything in your house, we'll be able to pick it up.
Let's see. Can you ask Earthbound spirits to give things back? I'm sure you can ask all you want.
Whether you get them or not, or is another thing. And don't forget, sometimes they throw them out and they're gone. You can't get them back. So,
well, like before you came out and got rid of that creeper that was hanging around in here, like he unscrewed the nuts and bolts on the dog kennels that we had, and we could not find them, and that's because they got thrown out in the yard somewhere. So we had to get a whole new kennel for the Schnauzer. This guy was an ass.
and like I said, and that probably would have been something he would have done when he was alive.
Probably.
Yeah.
Jerk. Trying to remember what his name was. I know he referenced and made the joke about the movie where the son has the dead mother. They own the hotel. She's dead, like down in one of the rooms, and TNT just had like a TV show about it. The guy who plays the good doctor now was the son.
What is it? Psycho.
Yeah. So the name of the guy in Psycho, because he made the joke, ha ha, because his last name was the same. And I am drawing a blank.
The actor Hopkins?
No. Hang on.
It's not important.
No. But yeah, he was a character.
Well, that's like the person that's in the portal in today's YouTube. What is it?
Bates. His last name was Bates.
Oh, Norman Bates. Okay. Thank
you guys.
Yeah.
Patrick and Brooke, save me, guys.
Yeah, they did it. No. Yeah. Okay, I do. That's right. But like the guy that is in this portal at the college campus on YouTube today, he told me what his name was and what he was doing to the boys in the house and everything. And he did not go to the light. He said he was having too much fun. And he was electrocuted in 49.
They should have done it harder. I mean, judgment, no judgment, lots of judgment. Yes, this is going to be. Well, now, so knowing that there's nothing in the house, I had a few fairies right after you got rid of, Mr. Bates here. But for when things go missing like that, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, look here, spirit, I don't have time to figure out your cryptic, like just spray paint it on the wall for me. I'll paint it over, but I'll understand what you mean.
Quit hiding with that.
Quit hiding my shit.
Right.
My son is actually going to be studying atmospheric sciences. He wants to go work for the National Weather Service. He's always had a fascination with tornadoes and storms and hurricanes. And I told him to figure out how to go get paid to do it. So he did. So he might become, he also at one point wanted to be a YouTuber, make all this money. So, when he was like littler. So he might figure out how to do both, because some of these storm chasers have like channels and stuff. So that little shit might have figured out how to do both on me and prove me wrong, and good for him.
Yeah, if he can do it, more power to
him. So let's see. We've got Zoom July 19th. We're going to be figuring out August, but it sounds like August 23rd might be one of the dates we go with because of the full moon. We got anything else before we wrap it up, since it's a little after 5?
No, I don't think so. I think we touched on everything pretty good today. Yeah, I think we're good.
We're gonna have to fill in with some more news here soon. I need to get on that and get these things secured out, and but it's that I'm waiting on them to confirm for me. So
Right. It's like, we know what we want to do, but you have to wait on everybody else. That's the problem. We're going. We can do this, and this, but they got to call us back. So,
Right. So I'm almost on
problem.
the verge of being the stalker, like knocking on their window at like 5 minutes before opening now. Like, I know you're in there. I see your car.
But the trouble is that now that people are coming back after the COVID, they're not working full weeks still. They're only there, and that's the problem. You never know trying to get hold of these people. It's Monday, it's Tuesday. Are they working today? You don't know. So we'll find them. We'll get them. We'll get some. The merry-go-round was so wonderful. That was a beautiful place to go. So and we just need more of those. There was a nice crowd there that day.
Yeah, I think we'll do that one again, maybe in the spring or something. He was hinting for us to come back around Halloween, and I'm like, it's kind of soon. Let's.
Busy. We're busy enough in October.
Yeah. Well, because All Ghosts come out in October.
Of course, don't we all know that?
Aha. So there's that term. I'll have to verify, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Where you see the faces, where the mind's trying to make sense.
Oh, cool. Never even heard of that word before. Thanks, Joshua. Let's
see. So with that, I think we got to go, because you got to put together your YouTube video to go up later.
Yep.
And,
gotta do it now. So get that done.
I have more picks I'll make.
Yes. Okay.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us. And
next Wednesday
at 10 a.m. Bring your coffee, bring your tea, bring your scones, and join us.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.